As you're all aware, we have not been overly thrilled with the lack of fighting from the provincial premier, from the Prime Minister's office. But today's been a very important day because in discussions today with Minister Baines from the federal government and a face-to-face meeting with the premier, it appears as if people are starting to take a different tact. Because it's clear that Canadians are punishing General Motors as a result of the decision to close the Oshawa plant. But also Canadians are deeply concerned about the role of our government, what our governments have said, and what our governments are not saying. So the meeting today with the Premier was an opportunity for us to really say to the Premier, listen, here's why we have taken the position we have. Here's why we are not throwing in the towel. And the Premier listened, and we understood when we showed him the language that we signed with General Motors that said there would be no closures during the life of the agreement. The Premier understood the history of our relationship with General Motors. And I was quite pleased when he said that he would roll up his sleeves and in his meetings that he was to have with General Motors, he would be very aggressive in having them change their position. So this is a good step forward as we build allies with both levels of government to let General Motors know that not only are there employees in Canada and Canadians going to fight this terrible decision, but it's clear now that the provincial and federal governments are going to up their role as we fight to keep these jobs in Oshawa. My discussion with Federal Minister Baines earlier on today, as he was heading into his meeting with GM CEO Mayor Barra, was very good. I mean, Minister Baines was saying, listen, they were not going to accept the decision to close the plant. They had discussions with General Motors about that in the past, and they were going to reinforce that position today. But ultimately, I'll be meeting with the Minister later today and having follow-up discussions with the Premier as we see what the next steps are. Because if in fact General Motors relays to them once again that they are not prepared to change their position, then we're going to have to start taking much more drastic action to get General Motors' attention. And we're going to need both levels of government in order to do that. So today is a very important day as we continue to build allies in our fight with General Motors and our fight against General Motors on their decision. And I'm pleased that the federal and provincial governments will be playing a much more aggressive role. But one thing that General Motors didn't expect was the backlash from Canadians. Canadians bought 30% less vehicles in December of 2018 than they bought in December of 2017. And that's with a better market. So Canadians are disgusted with the fact that, they are not living up to their commitment of building where they sell. They're furious with the fact that if in fact Oshawa closes, which it won't, Canadians will be building less than 200,000 vehicles a year for General Motors, yet they still think that Canadians will be buying well over 300,000. Canadians are also frustrated about the fact that the Mexican consumers buy about 240,000 GM vehicles a year and are on the cusp of building 1 million. So people see this for what it is. It's General Motors exploiting their employees in Mexico, and people are sick and tired of it. And so General Motors has to be feeling the heat. Why? Because the consumers are telling them enough is enough.